And welcome back. Here we are, starting off with 17. Let's go ahead and switch colors. Let's go to green. All right, this is find the value of x. And here we have an exterior angle. So we are going to be talking about the exterior angle theorem again. Exterior angle theorem, which tells us that the exterior angle is equal to the sum of the two remote interior angles, or 105 equals 72 plus x. So we simply need to subtract 72 from both sides, and we've got this. 72, subtracting 72. I'm going to freehand. 72 minus 72 cancel out. On the right, all I've got is that x left, and on the left, 105 minus 72. Well, 5 minus 2 is 3. And 10 minus 7 is 3. So it looks like I have 33 degrees. Yay! All right, so there's the value of x, 33 degrees. Okay, so looking at 18 now. Red's turn. All right, 18 says find the value of x. This diagram is not to scale. Well, that's okay. So tells us that this angle is 110 degrees. Well, this is not an exterior angle. This would be, and this would be, but if we notice, we have vertical angles here. So let's do that. Vertical angles are always congruent, so this is also going to be 110 degrees. And now we can use triangle sum theorem. Let's do that. Triangle sum theorem. Everybody loves the triangle sum theorem. X plus 110 plus 57 equals 180, because all three angles of any triangle add up to 180. We knew that. All right, so here we go. Grouping our like terms. Grouping our like terms here. 110 plus 57. 110 plus 57. I'll bring down my x. Is 167. Does that sound right to y'all? Okay, 167. So the last thing we need to do here then is subtract 167 from both sides. Minus 167. Minus 167. Okay. All right. So these cancel out here. All I have left on the left side is x. And on the right, I have 180 minus 167. Well, 180 minus 160 is 20. If I take away 7 more, then I have 13. And you can double check that by adding 13 back to 67. And you can see that, oh yeah, that does equal 180. So we have that x is 13 degrees. And don't forget, on the test tomorrow, x won't be 13 degrees. It'll be something different, but the concept is the same. So hopefully you will study these notes super hard so that you can kill it on this test. It's going to be great. You guys are going to love it. All right. Okay, so looking at the star, we have a star patterned quilt. A star patterned quilt has a star with the right angles shown. With the angles shown, not right angles. What is the value of x? Oh, look at this. We really don't need to worry about the star. The only thing we need to worry about here is this triangle and this exterior angle here. Let me freehand this with a pen, because we all know that I'm going to really botch that if I try to do with the trackpad there. Okay, there's a triangle, and we have our exterior angle. That's the only things we need to look at here. Forget the rest of the star. It's there to confuse you. So we do have an exterior angle theorem situation here. Exterior angle theorem. Okay, which tells us that the exterior angle, which is 105, is equal to the sum of the two remote interior angles, which are x and 24. So to solve this, we are simply subtracting 24 from both sides, which gives us, stand by, okay. On the right side, 24 minus 24 cancels out. All we have left is x over there. And on the left side, 105 minus 24. Well, 5 minus 4 is 1. And 10 minus 2 is 8. So we have 81 degrees. There you go. That's all they wanted was x, right? That is all they wanted. They're so easy to please today. Okay, so that was 19. Let's go back to green for number 20. We are past the halfway point. Aren't you excited? Okay. Looking at 20. Loading. Here we go. What is the slope of the line shown? Well, we have the 2 points here. You can't see the grid lines, but that's actually a good thing, because I really want you to be able to understand finding the slope given the 2 points, not just given counting the boxes, okay? So finding the slope, we've got y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So all we need to do is substitute in our values here. This first point, which is negative 2, 2, that's going to be representing x1 and y1, and then the second point is going to be representing x2 and y2. So we just need to substitute our values in here. Okay, so to find our slope, y2 is negative 9, and we're going to be subtracting y1, which is 2. Okay, and we're going to be dividing that by x2, which is 4, and we're going to be subtracting negative 2. Minus a negative is the same thing as plus. I'm actually going to be adding 2. Okay, so I just need to do the math here, and I got my slope. So I got my slope. I'm halfway there. Half the battle is done. Okay, so negative 9 minus 2 is negative 11. And then on the bottom we have 4 plus 2, which is 6. So we have negative 11 over 6. Do not be afraid of fractions. They are very real life. If you're ever going to cook anything, you need those fractions. Not that you're going to have 11 over 6 cups of anything, but fractions are real life. Please do not think you always have to change them to decimals, because that not only isn't true, it's going to make it to where you can't work things. You have to be able to use those fractions. So if you're having trouble with that, then that's something that you know you need to work on. All right, now we want the equation of the line shown in slope-intercept form. So we have the slope and we have a point. So we're going to start with point-slope form. I'll make some notes here. Okay, we're going to start with point-slope form. Start with point-slope form, and then we will change that to slope-intercept form. But we're starting with point-slope form because we have a point and slope. We do not have the y-intercept, so we can't go straight to slope-intercept form. Okay, so starting with slope form, I'm just going to take this first point here. Okay, I'm going to use this one right here. Okay, point-slope form is y minus y1. So I've got y minus my y value right here, which is 2. So I've got y minus 2 equals my slope, which is negative 11 over 6. Negative 11 over 6 times the quantity x minus x1. So I've got x minus my x value. Notice my x value here is negative 2 minus a negative, same thing as plus, end up with plus 2 right there. Okay? All right, now I need to solve this for y to put it in slope-intercept form. So I am going to do that. I'm going to start off here by distributing this negative 11 over 6 through the parentheses. Okay, now my y minus 2 on the left is just going to stay right there for a minute. I will deal with it in a hot second. Okay, so I have a negative 11 over 6 times x, which shockingly is negative 11 over 6x. And then I have negative 11 over 6 times 2. 2 is the same thing as 2 over 1, and when you are multiplying with fractions, you multiply the tops, multiply the bottoms. Negative times the positive is negative. 11 times 2 is 22. And in the denominator, 6 times 1 is 6. From this point, you've got options. You can simply go ahead and add 2 to both sides, but you'll need to change that to a fraction with 6 in the denominator. So you could add 12 over 6 to both sides, or you could fraction bust. Either way, you're going to come out with the same thing. I'm going to show the fraction busting process just because I'm not sure how many of you might be familiar with that. Okay, fraction busting. To get rid of fractions, you're going to multiply everything, all terms, by the denominator here of 6. Okay, 6 times y is 6y. 6 times negative 2 is negative 12. And when we get to the right side, we get to the whole point in fraction busting. It's getting rid of these denominators. 6 times negative 11 over 6. Well, with the 6 on top here and 6 on bottom here, they're going to cancel out, and you end up with just negative 11x. Negative 11x. Okay? And then with, again, 6 on top, 6 on bottom here. If I multiply 6 times negative 22 over 6, and I've got negative 22. Now, your fractions are going to come back. This just kind of makes it a little bit more workable at this point. This, at this point, is a two-step algebra problem. So now I am going back to green, darker green. Okay, my next step then would be to add 12 to both sides. I'm adding 12 to both sides. Add 12 to both sides. Okay, negative 12 plus 12 on the left cancels out. I have 6y on the left equals negative 11x. Okay, and then I've got negative 22 plus 12. Negative 22 plus 12 is going to give me negative 10. My last step then would be to divide both sides by 6, and then I'll be done. Dividing both sides by 6. I hate that it has to end so soon. So if I am dividing both sides by 6 here, I'm dividing every single term by 6. Every single term, okay? So here I have 6 over 6 cancels out, leaves me with y all by itself, which is the point, right? Okay, so I'm just going to circle our answer in slope-intercept form here in a different color so that it really stands out for you, okay? I'm not sure what's going on with that box there. Okay. All right, so then our slope-intercept form of our equation is y equals negative 11 over 6x minus 10 over 6. And you could reduce that 10 over 6 to, what, 5 over 3. And that's probably what they would do if you were looking at this for reals. Y equals negative 11 over 6x. I'll just write it here, because you would probably be expected to do that, and then reduce that negative 10 over 6 to negative 5 over 3. Don't be afraid that you have fractions here with different denominators. It's going to be okay. The world will spin on. All right, so that was a two-parter because there is a question like this on the test also. I want to make sure that you can recognize that process. Please make sure that you print this or get this down really well, or whatever you need to do, definitely study it because you have a test next class. Okay, 21 wants you to write an equation in slope-intercept form of the line through point 6, negative 1 with slope of 4. This is exactly what we just did. I have a point and a slope. So I first need to write it in point slope form and then change it to slope-intercept form. And goodness, please, everybody make sure you're reading the questions on the test. This one's slope-intercept form. If I write this equation in point slope form, I've got y minus my y value, which is negative 1, minus a negative, gives me plus 1 there, equals my slope of 4. Oh, man. Pen arguing with me. Times the quantity, x, minus my x value. And my x value here is 6. And I want you to notice that this answer that I've just written right here is one of your answers. It's right here. But that's not what they're looking for, okay? That's not what they're looking for. They want it in slope-intercept form, so you've got to solve this for y. Now, you also may notice that since it's asking for slope-intercept form, then the answers that are point-slope forms aren't going to be the answers. You can automatically eliminate those, okay? So then we just need to solve this for y, okay? Starting off here by distributing through our parentheses. Give me another color. There it is, okay? I'm going to distribute my 4 through the parentheses here, and then I've got y plus 1 equals 4x. That's a 4. 4x, and then 6 times negative 6 times 4, sorry, is negative 24. So the only thing that I have left to do here is get my pen working better. Is to subtract 1 from both sides. You can probably already see which answer it is, though. Hopefully you can. Okay, so that's going to go away. Then we've got 4x, and then negative 24 minus 1 is negative 25, so B it is. All right? On 22, this wants an equation in point-slope form, and it gives you the point and the slope. Goodness, this ought to be just a circle the answer kind of thing. Probably is going to be. We're going to go to green. I'm going to freehand. Notice that all of these are in point slope form, so we can eliminate a few things, or one thing for sure. This tells me that the slope is 4, positive 4. Well, 3 of my answers have a slope of positive 4, not negative 4, so it can't be D. This is process of elimination. Hope you're familiar with it. All right. So y minus the y value. Y minus negative 4 is going to be y plus 4. So it's going to be either A or B because those are the two that say y plus 4. So it can't be C. So now I'm just looking at the x portion. And the formula says x minus the x value, x minus 4, then again would be B. So I hope that you are seeing that actually watching and listening to this video is beneficial, because sometimes I'm just talking through something instead of working something out And you need to hear what I'm saying. So please make sure that you are listening to this, which you won't even hear me say that if you're not listening to this. Let's see, where are we? 23? 23. Sorry that the cursor's jumping around. It's because I'm using the trackpad and the pen at the same time. Probably not the smartest of things. You want to try purple? Let's try purple. Okay. All right, 23 wants us to write an equation in slope-intercept form of the line through those points. Hey, once again, I have 4 answers who are all in slope-intercept form. Notice that 2 of them have a negative 14/7 slope and 2 of them have a positive 14/7 slope, which tells me that I can eliminate 2 answers right off the bat, okay? So I'm going to start with finding my slope. Y2 minus Y1, or 8 minus negative 6. So plus 6 over x2 minus x1, or 10 minus negative 7. 10 minus negative 7 is the same thing as 10 plus 7. Does anybody notice that I have everything positive here? Sorry, that should be a 7. Everything positive here, which means my slope's going to be positive. 8 plus 6 is 14, and 10 plus 7 is 17. 14, good grief. 17. Okay, so I can eliminate 2 of my answers. Which 2 answers can I eliminate? Well, the 2 that have the negative 14/7, because we know that's not right, and we know this isn't right. So the last thing is going to be finding out whether our y-intercept is positive or negative. So that's going to take a little more math here. So we need to substitute in one of these points and the slope into point-slope form and then solve for y. Okay, so I've got y minus my y value. I'm going to use this one. So my y value here is negative 6 minus a negative is plus 6 equals my slope of 14/7. 14 over 17. I evidently am too fast on the 4s here. Okay, times the quantity x minus my x value. And again, you have minus a negative, so minus a negative is plus 7. Okay, so the next steps here then would be to, good grief, what's that? That should be like that. Okay, I'm going to distribute and solve for y, so I'm going to go ahead and switch to a color that'll look really pretty with that purple. I'm thinking green. What do y'all think? You agree? Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to distribute this 14/17 through the parentheses here. 14 over 17x plus, and then I've got, this is a 17, this is a 14, and then I've got 14 times 7, 7 times 4 is 28, carry my 2, 7 times 1 is 7 plus 2 is 9, I've got 98 over 17, don't be afraid, it's going to be great, okay. And then on the left side, I've got y plus 6. Really need this pen to hang on a little bit longer. Okay? That's really bad 6. Okay, so I need to subtract 6 from both sides, but I would need to put it in a form where 17 is in the denominator. So you know what? I am thinking that fraction busting is going to be the way to go here. So I'm going to fraction bust, red. And I'm going to multiply every term, every single term by 17. Multiply every single term by 17. Okay. On the right, that's going to be a breeze. It's going to be a piece of cake. This is a 7. Okay. Because it's just canceling out my 17s over here. So on the right side, 17 times 14/17 is just 14. And I've got that x there. Okay. And then I have 17 times 98 over 17, which is just 98, because again, my 17s are canceling out there. Wow. Okay. 98. Okay. And then on the left, I've got 17 times y, which is 17y. Again, not super pretty, but you can see how I'm going to get that 17 on the bottom of my fraction here. This was a 7. This pen is just about done. And then I have 17 times 6. Don't be scared. And again, I'm sure you'll have a calculator at your disposal during this test. 7 times 6. 7 times 6 is 42. Okay. Carry your 4. So 6 times 1 is 6 plus 4 is 1, 0. So I have 17y plus 102. Good grief. Okay, so I simply need to subtract 102 from both sides, and this should be getting clear to you guys as far as what your answer is going to end up being. Go into blue. Okay, when I subtract 102 from both sides, I can probably do this with typing. I bet I can. Then I won't have to fight with this pen anymore. Let's do that. Okay, I'm going to subtract 102 from both sides. Minus 102. So faster. When I subtract 102 from both sides, I'm going to end up with a negative. Because notice here I have a positive 98 minus 102. Since I'm subtracting a bigger number, it's going to end up giving me a negative 4. Okay? It's going to end up giving me a negative 4. So I know we are way below the problem that we're supposed to be working, so that's okay. I think it's worthwhile to really, make sure that you guys understand what's happening here. 102 minus 102, kill them. Okay, so I've got 17y here. I'm going to go back to typing. I've got 17y here equals 14x. Notice here that I've got 98 minus 102. 102 is bigger, so I'm going to have a negative here, negative 4. So then notice my last step here is just to divide both sides by 17. And when I do that, that's how I'm going to get negative 4 over 17. But it's really the sign that we were concerned with there. So hopefully you guys can see that that is definitely a negative 4 over 17. Those are going away. Okay, negative 4 over 17. So it's going to be D. That was a long one. All right. Okay, so for number 24, I am out of colors that are close to me. That's okay. What else we got here? Orange? Maybe. Okay, an equation for a line that passes through one of these points, or both of these points, so we can probably go ahead and eliminate a couple of these just based on the signs. It looks, since there are 4s everywhere over here, it looks like they're using this first point here. So the y value is negative 4, and the formula says y minus y1. Minus a negative is going to give me a plus there. So my equation, my answer is going to start with y plus 4. So I can go ahead and eliminate the ones that don't start with y plus 4. Okay? So it's either going to be B or D. The difference is my slope positive or is my slope negative? So for that, we are going to need to use our slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So y2 minus y1 is 4 minus the negative 4, which is going to give me 4 plus 4. Okay? And then I have my division line. If I could figure out how to do this really quickly in type, then I would do that. Alas, I don't know how to do that quickly. Okay, all right, so we're going back to text, or to typing. So I had 4 minus negative 4, which is 4 plus 4, and now I have 8 minus 4, so 8 minus 4. And that ends up giving me over here, 4 plus 4 is 8, and then 8 minus 4 over here gives me a 4 on bottom. So I can see that I've got a positive. It is definitely positive. Positive 8 over 4, which is a positive 2. Okay, it's a positive 2. Okay, so we want the answer that has a positive slope. Not that one, that's a negative slope. Let's go with this positive slope over here. So we have B again. Seem to be a lot of B's. Probably won't be on the test though. Okay, the values are different. Okay, 25, write the equation of the vertical line that contains this point. Remember that vertical lines, of course they go up and down. The vertical lines go through the x-axis. So it is our x values that give us those vertical lines. Okay, so what is x? What is the x value of that point? And hopefully you can see the x value of this point is negative 7. So x equals negative 7. The vertical lines are the ones that start with x. Okay, and the horizontal lines are the ones that go through the y-axis. So the horizontal lines start with y equals. Okay, so what is the y value of this point? Hopefully you can see that that is 4, so you end up with just y equals 4 there. So what you need to study here is making sure that you remember that vertical lines are x equals and horizontal lines are y equals. All right, so looking at 27, it says, is the line through these 2 points parallel to the line that's through these 2 points? So let's go ahead and make a note here, and let's get off of this orange, which actually looks more brown. It's making me sad. All right, so let's go back to purple. Back to purple. How about that purple? All right, so let's make some notes here. We need to make some notes here about parallel slopes. Parallel lines have the same slopes, okay? So what we need to do here is find the slope of the line that goes through these 2 points and the slope of the line that goes through these 2 points. So we're going to use the slope formula twice, okay? I'm going to make a place to do that real quick with my freehand, and then I'll type everything else, okay? So I'm going to have y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and then I will simplify that. Awesome. And then over here, I'm going to do the same thing. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and then I will simplify that. Fantastic. Let's type. Okay, so for my first set of points here, y2 is 4 minus y1. I see I have a minus and negative here, so that's going to end up being plus 5. And then on the bottom here, I've got y2, which is 1, minus y1. I'm sorry, x2. x2 is 1 minus x1, and the x1 value is 3. So simplifying here, 4 plus 5 is 9 all day. And then 1 minus 3 over here is negative 2. So I end up with negative 9 over 2, or 9 over negative 2. And then my second set here, I have y2, which is negative 3, minus y1, which is 1. And then on bottom, I have x2, which is 3, minus my x1 value, which is negative 1. And again, minus a negative gives me plus 1. Negative 3 minus 1 is negative 4. And then 3 plus 1, of course, is 4. So I end up with an overall slope here of just negative 1, which is not the same as 9 over negative 2. So our answer here then is no. Is the line through those points parallel? We're going to say no, because these slopes are not the same. No, the slopes are not the same. And we can type that. Slopes are not the same. Slopes. Goodness, I hope we can spell that. Slopes are not the same. Okay, so looking at 28, this wants to know which 2 lines are parallel. Same note here. Parallel lines have the same slope. Okay, so let's switch to green. Okay. Which 2 lines are parallel? So what we need to do here is identify the slopes of these things. Okay, so if you basically need to solve for y on each one of these. And to do that, for this first one, you're just dividing everything by 5. So if I divide everything by 5 here, then I get that my slope here is 2 over 5. That's all we really need to worry about here is our slope. Our slope here is 2 over 5. Wow. This is a 2. Okay. Really, really bad there, wasn't it? Okay, so I was dividing everything by 5 here, and I got a slope here. I divided this by 5 too, which made that a 1, but there's not a lot of room to work here, is there? Okay, so my slope here is 2 over 5, which is going to be arbitrary because it doesn't matter on that one. Notice that in the second one, if I divide everything by 5 here, I have a slope of 3 over 5. Well, those two aren't parallel. They don't have the same slope, okay? So we need to look at this third one here. Okay, if we're trying to solve for y, we first need to add 2x to both sides. Okay, we would need to first add 2x to both sides. So 3x. Add 3x to both sides. So my equation at that point would be, and I need to start it over here, would be 5y, because that's all that's left on the left side now, equals 3x minus 1. You guys notice something? I have a 3x here that's getting ready to be divided by 5. So I am going to have another slope of 3/5. Okay, so this one's also a slope of 3/5. 3/5. The long and the short of it here is that that's not a 3. So your slope of 3/5 here and the slope of 3/5 and the second one show you that those 2 lines are in fact parallel. Okay. So 2 and 3, same slopes, 2 and 3, which is answer A. Awesome. Okay. All right, hopefully you are listening to this and not just watching the squirrely writing here. Audio is awesome. So we have the last page here. If you didn't get to see that long enough, there it is for another 1, 2, 3 seconds. But this is a recording, so you can always pause it or watch it a million times. 29 says, what is the equation in point slope form for the line parallel to this one that contains that point? Well, if it's parallel to it, that means that it has the same slope. Parallel, same slope of 5. Notice that and y equals mx plus b, m represents the slope, so the slope here is 5. So I've got the slope and I've got the point. All I need to do now is write the equation, which is y minus my y value. My y value here is 1 equals the slope of 5 times x minus my x value. And notice here that I have a negative x value minus a negative, again, gives me plus 6. Okay, so that's it for number 29. Let's enjoy a quick answer there. Enjoy a quick answer. They're not all that quick. Okay? On 30, is the line through those 2 points perpendicular to the line with those 2 points? So we need to talk about a couple of things here. Perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes, and the product of their slopes is -1. So opposite reciprocals have a product of -1. Here's what that means, okay? This is not something that my classes have talked about. Your class may have, so hopefully you're a leg up on me here. But let's find out the slopes here. Or let me just give you an example here. If I had a slope of 2/3, and I had a slope of -3/2. Those are opposite reciprocal slopes. Hopefully you can see that those are opposite reciprocal slopes. The product of -1, if I multiplied these two slopes together, notice that positive times a negative is a negative. And then these 2's cancel out and these 3's cancel out. And well, but they become 1. They don't really cancel out. So you end up with a product of -1. Opposite reciprocal slopes have a product of -1. Let's make that note. Here we go. Opposite reciprocal slopes have a product of -1. Okay, so this is true for perpendicular lines. So this is true for perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines. There we go. It's a great red note up there for everybody. All right, so on 30, we're going to be finding the slopes of these two and then comparing them. So let's do that. We can do this like we did for number 27. Okay, I'm going to make a place to do these. Okay, I'm going to make a place to do these two slopes. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and then I will simplify it. Okay. Same thing over here, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and then I will simplify it. And now we type. Okay, so for this first set for PQ, y2 is 3 minus y1. y1 is -2 minus a negative is the same thing as plus. And then on bottom, I've got x2, which is 2 minus x1. And x1 is a -3. Again, minus a negative is plus. 3 plus 2 is 5. 2 plus 3 is 5. So here I end up with a slope of 5/5, which is 1. Okay? And the second set, y2, which is -6, minus y1. Oops. And notice again that I have minus a negative. Minus a negative is the same thing as plus. And then on the denominators, I have x2, which is 15, minus x1, which is 10. So on top, I have -6 plus 1, which is -5. And on bottom, I have 15 minus 10, which is 5. -5/5 gives me a -1. Hey, look at this. 1 times -1 is -1. So they do have a product of -1. Okay? So 1 times -1 is -1. Let's see if we can make a note of that. Let's see if I can take this slope down here and this slope here and say that 1 times -1 does in fact equal -1. So the product of the slopes is in fact -1. If you've learned nothing else today, hopefully that. But I really hope you've learned more than that today. Mostly what's going to be on this test. All right, 3 more. Are the lines y equals -x minus 2 and 4x plus 4y equals 16 perpendicular? Again, we need to analyze these slopes. Perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes, which have a product of -1. Now, the line y equals -x minus 2 has a slope of -1. You can see it right here. So we already have one slope of -1, okay? We already have one slope of -1. So we need to find the slope of the second line here. So we need to solve it for y. So I'm going to start with changing the color. Start with changing the color. Let's go blue. Okay, let's see if we can write here. Let's see if we can write here. Okay, I've got 4x plus 4y equals 16. And I'm trying to solve this for y so I can see what in the heck the slope is. Okay, so I'm going to start off by subtracting 4x from both sides. Subtracting 4x from both sides, which is going to make that go away on the left. I no longer have x's on the left. Green. Okay, so now I have just 4y left on the left side, and on the right side I've got -4x plus 16. That is a positive 16. So my last step to solve for y here then is going to be to divide every term by this 4 that right now is stuck to this y by multiplication. Divide every term by 4. Every single term. And then simplify. Everything here is divisible, or is a factor of multiple of 4, sorry. So that's going to make this really easy. I've got y equals -4 over 4, which is -1. Y equals -1 plus, oh sorry, x. Don't forget your x. I'm always telling my kids that. 16 over 4, which is 4. Okay? So I've got a -1x, or -1 slope here. And I've got a -1 slope here. Okay? The exact same slopes means they're parallel. And it's want to know if they're perpendicular. No, they're not perpendicular. They're parallel. Let's make a note of that. Love to make notes of things. No, not perpendicular. Actually, parallel, because same slopes. So be careful when you're writing your answer for this one, or choosing your answer for this one, because there is an option that says yes, their slopes are equal. Well, perpendicular slopes aren't equal, so it's not that one. Okay, so we don't want to talk about negative slopes. We want to say no, the slopes are not opposite reciprocals, which means -1 times -1 is not -1. -1 times -1 would be +1. So definitely a no here. Just got to pick the correct no. All right. So then we have two graphers. Two here we're going to graph the lines here. This ought to be a hoot with this pen. So looking at number 32, graph the equation y equals -2/5 x plus 7. Bear with me, please, while I try to do this. Okay. So starting off at a +7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So +7 is where this is going to cross the y-axis. Then I'm executing my slope of -2/5. Okay, let me go ahead and make a note here that I see that my y-intercept is 7, and that my slope is -2/5, 2/5. Okay, so from that point, from the point that I plotted right there, the 7 on the y-axis, I need to go down to and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm putting another point right here. Sorry, it's not perfect. And then I'm going to go down 2 again and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put right here. And if you have -2/5, you could also go up 2 and 5 to the left. So let's do that also. Now I have plenty of points here with which to connect the dots, which I will try very hard to do here with this trackpad. Ooh, that's not bad. Okay. This one will be multiple choice on the test, but I wanted to make sure that you could see what you needed to see on that one. Okay. And for our final color on the screen right now, I can't see any red, so let's go red. All right, so I have an equation here, and I need to identify first the y-intercept. I can see that the y-intercept is negative 10. Okay, hopefully you can see that that negative goes with the 10. And I can see that my slope is a positive 5/3, so up 5/3. So here we go. I am starting at negative 10 on the x-axis, or the y-axis, sorry, y-intercept is negative 10. So I'm going way down here to negative 10 on the y-axis. And from there, I'm going to execute my slope of 5/3. So I'm going to go up 5 and 3 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and over 1, 2, 3. There's a point right there. That's not bad. And then up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and over 1, 2, 3. Ooh, I can go one more time. Always do your slope. Execute your slope as many times as you can until you run out of graph. It's going to make your line as accurate as possible. So I'm going up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and over 1, 2, 3. And you can see that I will not be able to go over 3 again, so that'll be it. Last one. Let's see if I can get a decent line here. Yay! That's really good. Pretty proud of that one. Okay. Well, thank you all for listening and watching. I hope this has been super helpful. I'm going to save this video. I'm going to save these notes and post them to Canvas for your viewing pleasure, and so that you can use these notes to study super hard for the test.